Alright, Assalamualaikum again and very good morning to all. So today we are going to continue with our second chapter, which is regarding anatomical basis of human motion, and towards the later, we are going to discuss a bit about qualitative and quantitative analysis. Okay, jadi kita recall benda-benda ni dah pernah jumpa lah sebelum ni dekat topik-topik lain. Anatomy ke, physiology ke, do you ever come across this topic? Ni benda-benda ni. Pernah jumpa tak ke this is the first time?
Adalah sikit-sikit.
Pernah jumpa.
Okay, bila sikit-sikit tak apa. Dia tak adalah pelik sangat nanti bunyi dia. Alright, so the first one, when we talk about biomechanics, this is quite important because afterwards when you try to explain about motion, about movement, you need to apply, you need to explain that by anatomical reference position. Jadi macam kita nak cerita kan, bahagian tangan kiri, tangan kanan, bahagian depan. So they are terms. Okay, jadi anatomical reference position ni, it involve placement of body and the term in order for you to actually describe human motion. Okay, so it start with reference position. Okay, ni reference position dia. If people ask you, okay, please stand up in a reference position, most of the time, biomechanists and medicals going to use the same term. Lain daripada tu dia jarang-jarang guna. Tak adalah kamu pergi ni nak masuk kerja, buat anatomical reference, tak ada. But if you go for special test whatsoever, this is the anatomical reference term. Okay, so erect standing maksudnya standing dengan tangan terbuka. Erect standing position with all body part facing forward. Ini fokus pada ni. Meaning that you stand upright and your palm facing forward. This is anatomical reference position. Or sometimes people call it as A position. Okay, macam huruf A kan. This is A position. Sometimes, most of the time, it is known as anatomical reference position. This will be considered the starting point for all body segment movement. Meaning, if we try to explain about kinematics, this is the starting of it. Anatomical reference position. Barulah kita boleh cerita apa-apa yang berkenaan. So, by here, they go to the first one, which is the placement. Okay, jadi kita ada first kali, this is a frontal plane. Okay, kita tengok plane dululah. Senang sikit kita nak cerita. Ni. Okay, so we have three type of plane. Plane ni satah. The first one ni yang tengah-tengah ni, yang membahagi dua badan depan dan belakang. This is known as frontal plane. Okay, it divide the body half, front and back. So the name is frontal plane or coronal plane. Most of the time you are going to see frontal plane. Unless saya nak confusekan kamu buat soalan, I put there coronal plane. So this is the same thing. Frontal plane. The second plane is this one. Saya nak kamu ingat tiga je. Mid saya kita ni tak perlu. Saya nak kamu ingat tiga je. First is frontal. Second one is this plane. Ni, plane ni. The plane that divide your body into left and right. Okay, maksudnya plane ni untuk pandangan sisi. This is known as sagittal. Pandangan depan, frontal. Pandangan sisi, sagittal. If let's say, okay, try to analyze the movement from left or right. So which plane? Sagittal plane. Try to analyze the movement from front and back. Frontal. And the last plane is this plane. The plane that divide top half and bottom half. Atas dan bawah. This is known as transverse plane or horizontal. Most of the time it is known as transverse. Okay. Horizontal ni dia ada lawan dia, tapi kamu just ingat transverse. So there are three plane. The first one is frontal plane, depan, belakang. Second one is sagittal plane, kanan, kiri. And the third one will be transverse plane, atas, bawah. Tiga plane. So from that three plane, kita ada pelbagai-bagai pergerakan. Sorry. Bukan pergerakan dulu. Kita tengok position. Okay. Alright. Now, if you see here, you are going to have one midline, bahagian tengah. Okay, pembahagi dua. Dekat bahagian ni ada midline tak? Do you have midline here?
Ada.
Kat mana? Ni tengah-tengah ni. Pembahagian antara depan dan
Belakang.
okay. So midline. Cuma dekat midline ni, apa yang dia nak tunjuk ialah medial and lateral. If we talk about medial and lateral, pembahagian tengah ni enggak ada. Okay, pasal medial lateral ni lebih pada kiri dan kanan. Luar dan dalam. Luar dan dalam. So, anything towards the midline is known as medial. Anything away from the midline is lateral. Okay? Towards the midline is medial. Away from the midline is lateral. Okay, common example is the knee. Okay, the knee. Pernah tak kamu dengar ACL, PCL? Do you ever come across this term?
Nah,
MCL dengan LCL?
jarang.
Jarang. Okay. ACL is anterior ligament, maksudnya ligamen depan. PCL is posterior. Nampak tu? Benda sama pak. Anterior depan, maksudnya ligamen dekat bahagian depan lutut. PCL is the posterior ligamen dekat belakang. Okay, dia dekat belakang sini, belakang lutut. And you have another 2CL. The first one is MCL, medial, dekat tepi sebelah dalam. Okay, my question. Kalau dekat kaki kiri, MCL dekat tepi sebelah dalam, dekat kaki kanan, is it dekat tepi sebelah luar ke tepi sebelah dalam sini? Satu, dalam juga. Tu maksudnya medial. Meaning that this ligament is towards the midline. So, lawan dia dekat bahagian luar is LCL. Okay. A lateral cruciate ligament. Kaki kiri dekat bahagian luar, kaki kanan pun dekat bahagian luar. So, anything away from the midline is lateral. Anything towards the midline is known as medial. Tu cerita ni, medial dengan lateral. Okay. Next one, we have left and right. Ni tak payahlah, ni simple pun, left and right. Come on lah. Ini kita ambil sini. Proximal and distal. Okay, daripada mana proximal dengan distal ni? Is it the perut? Is it the kepala? Is it the lutut? Nampak bawah ni pun ada distal. Proximal. So, from where? Soalan dia. From where? So, for proximal and distal, you need to know the origin. Okay, example I give you. If we compare the knee and the feet, which one is proximal, which one is the distal? Okay, the origin. Okay, the origin most of the time is your body. Okay, ni body. This will be the origin. Jadi kalau kata kita bezakan, what is the proximal, what is the distal? If we compare knee dengan feet, yang mana satu proximal, yang mana satu distal. So kamu kena tengok yang mana satu dekat dengan badan. Lutut ke feet? Lutut. So the lutut is much more proximal to the body compared to the feet. Automatically the feet will be distal. Okay, now second. If we compare the head and the palm, which one is proximal, which one is distal?
The head is proximal. The
Okay.
palm is distal.
Palm is distal. Pasal head lagi dekat dengan kita punya badan. Okay, dia macam tu. If we compare the eyes and the nose, which one is proximal, which one is distal? Mata, hidung. Dua-dua dekat muka. Which one is proximal, which one is distal?
The nose is proximal.
Proximal. The eyes will be
Distal.
distal. Tu proximal dengan distal. Okay, so kita kena tahu dia daripada mana. So origin is always to be your body, the main body, the main peripheral, and then baru kita tengok. Contoh tangan, kata kita ambil tangan kan. If we compare the shoulder and the elbow, which one is proximal, which one is distal? Yang mana
The
lagi
elbow is proximal.
Elbow is proximal. Is it? Kita kena kembali kepada anatomical reference position. If we compare elbow dengan shoulder, which one is proximal, which one is distal to the body? The elbow will be
Distal.
distal. The shoulder will be proximal. Itu kepentingan ni, erect position ni. Because if you try to explain about terms, if you try to explain about kinematics, about motion, it will follow this one. Although pergerakan tadi bukan pergerakan macam ni tu. Although pergerakan tu pergerakan berlari, contoh kan. Contohlah kamu dalam kamu nak buat apa ni, shooting basketball. Okay. Bila kita nak shooting basketball, kita akan letak tangan dekat kepala, contohlah kan. So now if we compare your palm, okay, your palm and your head, which one proximal, which one distal? Cuba buat satu pergerakan nak buat free throw basketball, and now palm dengan head. Yang mana satu proximal, yang mana satu distal?
The palm is distal.
Palm is distal. Your head is proximal. Head. Apa tiba-tiba jawab head ni? Head apa? Haris? Jawapan tak habis. Head proximal. Okay, palm is distal. Itu cara dia untuk kita tentukan proximal and distal. Okay, next one we have superior and inferior. So anything away from the midline. Okay, jadi kita ambil macam ni. Kita ambil satu point. Kita ada midline. Another one kita ambil kita punya pusat. Ataupun kita ambil body tadi. Anything above is superior. Anything below is inferior. Maksud superior inferior, atas dan bawah. Proximal distal, dekat dengan jauh. Okay, so superior inferior. Okay, so if we compare, let's say if we compare macam tadi, lutut dengan feet, which one is superior, which one is inferior? Ni clear cut. Anything above or towards above is superior. So the knee will be superior, the feet will be inferior. Okay, so kita nak cerita atas. The superior part, bahagian atas. The inferior part, bahagian bawah. If you not talk about this specific part, anything above your waist is superior. Anything below or towards down is inferior. Okay, itu term kedua. Okay, term ketiga. We have medial lateral, we have distal proximal, we have superior inferior. Next one, we have anterior and posterior. Ni depan dan belakang. So kita ada satu midline kan, imaginary line from the top of the head ni membahagi dua badan kita. Swing ke bawah macam kena saw. So anything away from that midline is known as anterior ataupun ventral. Anything behind the midline is known as posterior or dorsal. Okay, kamu ingat ni je, anterior, posterior. Ventral dengan dorsal ni dia punya scientific term. We have use of that later on. Okay, to anterior. If we compare our chest, or if we compare our pectoralis major and our deltoids, which one is inferior, which one is posterior?
Deltoid posterior.
Deltoid posterior. Okay, how about our traps and our hamstring? Trapezius and hamstring. Apakah kedua-dua?
Hamstring posterior.
Hamstring posterior. Trapezius
Depan sikit.
depan sikit. Kalau tengok dalam posisi macam ni lah, depan sikit. But basically both of them is posterior.
Okay.
Dia macam tu. Tu cara kita untuk guna benda tu lah. So if we try to if we try to differentiate, if we try to determine location or whatsoever, this is the term that you need to have. Lutut saya sakit, bahagian mana? Lutut kanan, medial. So kita tahu bahagian dalam lutut kanan. Kepala saya pening, bahagian mana? Tak tahu saya, satu kepala pening. Pasal tu dah lah. Bahu mana yang sakit? Oh, my left shoulder. Okay. And which part? Towards the superior part. So kita tahu bahu kiri atas yang sakit. Itu maksud dia. Okay, that is the use of it. Ni benda yang tadi lah. So superior closer to the head, inferior further away from the head, anterior towards the front, posterior towards the back. Okay, medial towards the midline, proximal closer to the trunk, distal away from the trunk. Okay, and then we have another two, superficial and deep. So superficial and deep ni, if we try to show the distance between the surface. Okay, contoh, if we compare your heart, okay, your heart or your lung with your ribs, which one is superficial, which one is deep? Ribs dengan kita punya lung. Which one is deep? Which one is superficial?
Ribs is superficial.
Yes. Ribs is superficial because it is further away from the inside ataupun it is nearing to the surface compared to lung, which is further back compared to the rib. Tu superficial and deep. If we compare our skin and our bones, which one is superficial, which one is deep?
Bone is deep.
Bone is deep. Skin is superficial. Tu guna dia directional term. So all of that is known as directional term. Means the term that we use to appoint direction. Okay, apa lagi? Sama je ni. Alright. Okay, this is the plane. We have covered this one. Alright. After we know the plane, we have another one known as axis. Sekejap Dia ada ni axis. Ni je gambar axis. Okay, kita pakai ni. We have another one known as axis. Axis present same as the plane. So kamu tengok kita ada tiga axis. Mediolateral, antero-posterior, longitudinal. Alright. First kita cover longitudinal pasal dia lain daripada orang lain. Longitudinal, transverse ataupun menegak. This one. Ni longitudinal axis. Okay. Axis itu apa? Paksi itu apa sebenarnya? What can you explain about paksi? Okay, the axis ni nama lain, nama Melayu dia is paksi. Okay, kalau kita ada satu bulatan, kita akan ada satu pusat bulatan where the rotation occurs around it. This is what we know as axis of rotation. So in human, we can rotate. Okay, we can rotate. And the rotation is upon one axis. And that axis is located around the middle, which is your COG. Ataupun bahasa Melayunya your pusat. This is common knowledge. Okay. COG ni tak semestinya duduk dekat sini. It can be here, 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 it can be on the head, it can be on the leg. COG is actually the placement of your weight. So depends on how you position your body, the COG is going to shift. The way for you to know is simple. Okay, when you feel unbalanced, the COG is outside of your body. Jadi kita rasa berat ke arah itu. Contoh nak jatuh ke kanan kan. Meaning that we have shift our weight to the right hand side. Tapi in normal condition, commonly the COG will be placed at the middle of the body where where the weight is being distributed evenly. Jadi kita punya COG ni paksi. Paksi macam mana? Untuk bolehkan kita tunduk ke depan, untuk bolehkan kita sengit ke tepi. Maksudnya paksi rotation kita di situ. That is your axis of rotation. So the movement being proposed by our axis of rotation, there are three axes. The first one is longitudinal axis or transverse axis. Jadi transverse axis ni membolehkan kita berputar macam mana? We can do rotation. Pusing-pusing macam tenggiling kan. Pusing-pusing. Rotation. We can actually rotate something like that. Rotate, rotate, rotate. That is longitudinal. Second axis is known as mediolateral. Okay, mediolateral. It come from two different words. Okay, first kita ada transverse ataupun longitudinal. Second one is mediolateral. It comes from two root words, lateral and medial. Okay, based on what we have learned before, mediolateral is the midline. Okay, midline which divide you into left and right. Ni axis kedua, mediolateral. And the third axis is known as antero-posterior. Antero-posterior. Came from two root word, posterior and anterior. So, this one. Ni. Okay, frontal plane which divide the body front and back. Jadi satah dia ialah satah antero-posterior. Satah untuk sagittal, axis untuk sagittal is mediolateral and axis for transverse is transverse axis ataupun longitudinal axis. Paksi dia. Paksi yang membahagi, kalau kata longitudinal ni, kita boleh tengok pergerakan macam mana. Paksi kat tengah, bagi atas dan bawah, rotation. Kalau antero-posterior, paksi di bahagian frontal plate. So, pergerakan macam mana? Axis macam mana untuk antero-posterior? Pergerakan yang kita boleh tengok, pergerakan yang macam mana? What kind of pergerakan being divide front and back? Macam mana? Apa pergerakan yang bergerak ke depan, ke belakang, ke depan, ke belakang, ke depan, ke belakang, ke belakang, ke belakang.
Arm swing.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, how about mediolateral? Pergerakan satah sagittal.
Lateral raises.
Lateral, okay, boleh. Something like that. Itu adalah paksi. Okay, that is our paksi. So we have three paksi. And this three paksi is based on three satah. Satah is plane. Paksi is axis. So sometimes they ask you about axis, sometimes they ask you about plane. Okay, if the question asks you about plane, we have three. The one that divide left and right, sagittal. The one that divide front and back, or anterior posterior, frontal. The one that divide superior and inferior is transverse. And with the plane came axis. For transverse plane, we have longitudinal axis ataupun transverse axis, sama. For sagittal, we have mediolateral axis. And for frontal, we have antero-posterior axis. Tiga benda. Okay, ni axis. Imaginary line around which sagittal plane rotation occurs. Imaginary line around which frontal plane rotation occurs. And this one around transverse plane. Dia partner. Dia. Okay, ni contoh. Kalau kita lukis benda tu sama sebenarnya. Okay, dia punya satah tu sama je, satah and axis tu. Cuma satah talk about plane. Axis talk about rotation. Okay, satah talk about something that move linearly. Axis talk about something that move in round and round ataupun angularly. Angular motion. Okay, so this is some of the movement which can occur in different plane. Contoh sagittal plane, we have flexion, extension, meaning jangan limitkan kamu punya ni kepada benda yang ada kat sini tau. Any movement which can be described very clear from that plane boleh masuk. Contoh macam ni kita ada flexion, extension. Cuba bayangkan kita buat flexion, extension, kita tengok pada depan. Kita tengok pada frontal plane. Can you see the angle? Boleh nampak angle tak? Boleh tak kita nampak angle? Berapa degree dia buka? Can you see that? Ataupun kejap Sekejap. Korang ni ada dalam kelas ke tak ada ni? Senyap, sepi. Cakap sorang-sorang ke? Halo. Ada tak orang lain selain yang tadi?
Weh, ada.
Kita try satu gambar. 100 meter running finish. Image. Okay, kita tengok gambar je. Ni satu. Satu lagi saya nak gambar pada depan. Okay, ni. Alright, now let's see this one first. Okay. If you try to explain the motion at the leg, okay, dekat kaki, kita nak tengok berapa flexion at the knee, berapa flexion at the ankle, how about the hand movement. If we compare these pictures, okay, bayangkan gambar ni, okay, pictures from which plane this one? What is the plane for this one? Plane apa ni?
Plane untuk
Ni kita tengok daripada pandangan mana? Frontal, sagittal or transverse?
sagittal.
Sagittal.
Sagittal, okay. If we compare sagittal plane dengan frontal, saya nak ambil frontal tadi mana? Ni. Okay, dengan yang ini. Ataupun this one is not. Tadi sebelah, dengan ni. If we compare sagittal and this frontal plane, can we observe the angle of the leg here?
No.
Tak boleh. Tak boleh. Meaning that this movement, flexion and extension is not suitable to be described by using frontal plane. It is better to use sagittal because the same action but from different position will give you different information. Okay. Jadi bila kita nak tentukan pergerakan macam ni, any movement which we can actually have a greater description from that plane belong to that particular plane. Contoh flexion, extension, hypertension. It is better to explain from sagittal rather than frontal because from frontal we can only see something like this. Ni flexion punya contoh. Flexion of the knee, flexion at the ankle, but from front we can only see that in one straight line. Yang berubah hanya panjang kaki sahaja. If we compare with this view, we can observe, we can explain much better. Okay, faham. Okay. Tu maksud dia, okay. Ini maksud pergerakan tadi. Why this pergerakan being put underneath sagittal? Kita ada dorsiflexion, plantar flexion. Kalau kamu buat sendiri pun, tengok kaki sendiri kan, buat dorsi, buat plantar. If you see from transverse daripada atas kan, you can see kaki tu memanjang, memendek. But here we try to determine what is the angle of flexion. So we cannot do it from that particular view. Contoh yang kedua, frontal plane. Okay, adduction, abduction. Cuba bayangkan sekarang adduction, abduction. Kita buat daripada sagittal. Can we see that? Can we see whether there are adduction or abduction occurs? Tengok pada tepi. Nampak? Boleh bayang? Tak nampak. Tak nampak. Okay. So some of the movement better being viewed by certain plane because it give many information. Okay, because later on when you do your analysis, kamu punya group project 2D analysis tu, you need to explain about movement. So student always ask, sir, kita nak letak kamera dekat mana, sir? Are we going to have something like this? Ataupun kita tengok satu lagi cari shooting. Dia gambar dia. Okay. Let's take two pictures. Let's take this one first. Okay, ni dah full draw. Dia dah tarik habis dah. Okay, dia dah tarik habis. Compare to, let's say kita ambil, take the same one. Okay, this is dah tarik habis. This is another example. This is dah tarik habis. Compare to something like this. Ni pun dah tarik habis. So kalau kata kamu buat analysis untuk archery, so the question will be, what is the placement of the camera if we try to determine movement at the shoulder region? Ni kita panggil sebagai shooting arm. At the shooting arm, what is string arm ni kan, ni string arm, ni bow arm, okay, string arm. At the string arm, what is the movement occurs ataupun kinematic of the string arm? Are you going to put your camera like this, sagittally, or are you going to put your camera, this is also sagittally compared to the first one, this one is from behind, okay, from apa ni, from posterior, or you go with these pictures, anterior, sagittal anterior, or are you going to put your camera something like this? Which one will give you more information in terms of string arm movement? This one or this one or this one?
Second one.
Second one. Ni, keluar dah. Ni, yang kedua. Contohlah. Okay, that is quite good. You can go for the second one because it gives you some of the movement. But it is actually even better if you do the first one, because we try to see the movement at the shoulder for the string arm. Jadi nak tengok shoulder string arm, kita kena letak kamera yang nampak shoulder string arm. This one, you can explain about string arm, but the shoulder position is nowhere to be found. Okay, kalau soalan dia, we try to see the line of arrow, the line between bow arm and shoulder arm. Can we see the line from here? Nampak tak line dia? Can
Nampak.
you imagine you see the line? Pada sini kita nak tengok line dia, lurus ke tak lurus ke. Can you see it from here?
Kan.
Or is it even better if you see from here? Ni pun tak berapa cantik sebenarnya. Or maybe something like this. So yo, jap Yang ni saya kena berhenti. Awal lama dah balik.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah untuk Bapak. Tengah menunggu lah. Dia suruh balik terus. Aku dah tunggu kunci bilik. Tahu tak aku pusing keluar semua orang dulu. Kau ada kelas ni?
Aku ada kelas tak apa. Jap
Aku pusing je. Dia pusing semua orang. Mami yang ada kat bilik.
Kau punya load dah tu dah apa?
Dah. Tadi dah bincang dengan Aida.
Dah. Satu dah mergekan load kau dengan siapa dah dulu 3 orang kan?
Kita dah buka peluang semua. Dia nak revise balik siapa. Dia ada yang selesai ni dah macam beban kan. Kamu tak ada masalah lah.
Apa tak beban? Kau dah bagi kat Razi.
Dia Razi tu dia kata dia ni.
Aku tanya Aku tanya Wafi tu. Aku tak Razi ni dah ajar dah. Aku kena buat kelas tu ajar dia. Okay, fine. Pandai-pandai. Ya.
Aduh kacau barang tu. Aku sendiri aku dengar dia suara bang tengah kelas. Saya tengah tegang gini. Aku sendiri habiskan tu aku ikut. Dia dah keram. Aku tu tak sampai lagi.
Tak ada kat sini aku kat bawah kat lab. Dah start kat data collection itu.
Aku ni kunci tak sampai lagi. Aku pusing lagi. Pusing lagi.
Siapa tahu ni? Bibi?
Bibi. Last dia masuk kereta aku ni ada problem. Sini aku dah pecah.
Oh ya?
Pasal dia aku punya problem. Dia bobak. Leaking apa benda. Bobak. Lepas tu bocor ni dia dah ada problem.
Sejak sebulan ni.
Punya habis. Tak terus.
Hijab je separuh. Bilik sebelah bilik kat Nat habis.
Tu cakap aku.
Bangunan kita dah start gerak lah.
Dia kata tak nak declare tu kan declare tu aku kena buat surat penukaran apa benda baik. Sebelum masuk ni check dulu dia dah declare tu.
Dia bilik malam lah.
Bilik malam dia kata nak buat bilik seminar.
Siapa kata? Dah habis. Dah habis. Orang lain dah. Dia ambil bilik malam ni.
Dah mohon dah apa. Aku tanya kat dia pasal nampak anda nak pindah.
Dia mohon benda tu.
Hijab pecah dia kata.
Pecah? Tu dia lari depan bilik Ain.
Aku ni tak ada air keluar dari bawah. Dia kena yang dia borak ni sempang ni.
Baik. Alright. Okay, masih ada di sini Siapa balas question bawah ni? Faham, okay.
Ada.
Contoh macam ni contoh ketiga. If we compare contoh-contoh tadi, if we try to see the line, this one is even better. Still from sagittal, okay, still from sagittal view. Okay, saya nak tunjuk satu contoh, tak jumpa pula kalau we can actually see the line from a frontal view. Tapi bukan frontal view yang macam ni. Ni frontal. Okay, this is frontal posteriorly. Okay, this is frontal daripada belakang. So kalau macam tadi kan kita cerita kalau macam tu, this is frontal from medial. Okay, daripada this is frontal from lateral. Frontal plane tapi kita tengok pada sini. Kalau frontal plane kan bagi dua macam ni kan. Depan belakang. So kalau ini kita tak boleh istilahkan dia sebagai sagittal tau. Okay, try to remember this one. If we see anatomical human position, ni kan, clack. Kalau kita tengok sini, sagittal plane bahagi kiri kanan, frontal plane bahagi depan belakang. However, in archery, this is actually sagittal. Okay, kalau tadi sagittal kita bagi dua macam ni, betul? Betul kan? Sagittal tadi kita bagi dua, kita cerita kiri dan kanan. Is it true?
Betul.
Betul. Tapi there are certain spots, this is actually sagittal, bukan frontal. Because this movement is not towards you. Kalau pergerakan ni ke arah kamu, that is frontal. This movement bergerak ke sana. So this is sagittal. This is the plane of sagittal. Dia bukan selalulah kes ni. Kes terbalik-terbalik ni. So you need to actually have a good understanding about the sport itself. Contoh kalau macam larian tadi, okay, and then there is sagittal plane from the side. So this is actually sagittal daripada tepi. Kalau frontal, kamu kena duduk depan ni. You need to be in front here, observe. Ataupun you need to be from the back. Something like this. Kalau kita contoh lah daripada belakang, kita tengok ke depan. Ni frontal plane. Okay, boleh beza okay. So, ni saya nak cik satu contoh macam ni, but we observe the motion full. Macam ni kita hilang tangan dia, we need to observe it full. Baru kita boleh cerita pergerakan tangan. Sekejap, ada tak? Contoh macam ni abang. Menyondong ke depan. Yang ini, ni dia nak tembak trick shot, sorry. Atas. Okay, macam ni. If we compare these two, okay, tengok badan dia. This one sagittal. Badan dia, tengok badan dia. Compare dengan, bila nak compare je tak ada. Kita compare dengan Mamat Tengok. Sagittal juga. Tapi tengok cara dia. Macam terpaksa menarik tu. This is not relaxed, but this is quite forced. We can see the shoulder is not in line anymore. Shoulder kanan dia turun, shoulder kiri dia naik, resulting the left column of the hand ni cundung ke bawah. Meaning, if we talk about biomechanic, in term of force, force dia ada satu ke atas, satu lagi ke bawah. The force is not in one straight line. Meaning, when this fella pull the bow, dia kena tahan satu force ke arah dia. Force daripada bow ni ke belakang. Dalam masa sama, bila dia tarik, ada satu lagi force yang macam ni. So, we have two vector. Meaning, the force distribution is not equalized from left hand to right hand. Dia akan jadi cepat penat. Compare tu orang yang macam ni. Let's take this one. We can see that it is actually one straight line. Meaning, the force daripada depan ni, dia ke belakang. Satu hala. Dia tak ada deviation ke bawah ke atas ke. Macam tadi, we have deviation. This is some example of analysis based on sport. So, the way you choose the frame give you different information. Tu maksud yang ni lah. That is the meaning why we need to know plane and axis. because some of the movement only can be observed from a certain axis, a certain plane. That is the plane that give the most information, and that is how you choose where to place the camera. Nak tengok orang lontar lembik, so kat mana kita nak letak kamera? Is it we are going to put it sagittal plane daripada tepi, or is it we are going to put it in frontal plane daripada depan ataupun daripada belakang? So it depends. If you try to see how far it goes, sagittal will be better. If you try to see maybe certain flexion of the body kan, the lateral flexion whatsoever, frontal is better compared to sagittal. Contoh macam ni lah. Kita ambil yang 100 meter sprinting balik. 100 meter sprint finish. Okay. If we compare, contoh macam ni kan. Kita nak tengok badan dia sengit ke mana. Can we see the sengitness, the deflection of the body here? Is it better here ataupun can we see can we go this pictures or here? Kita nak tengok whether the body shifting to the left or shifting to the right, because in 100 meter sprint it takes time for you to actually have quite a good run. At a certain stage you are going to lean either to the right or to the left because of the force being produced. Jadi mana lagi bagus to see the body leaning? Is it from frontal or is it from, nak tengok tepi tak ada dah kat sini, or sagittal, something like this. Daripada gambar mana kita boleh tengok body leaning? Sagittal plane or frontal plane?
Frontal.
Ni contoh benda ni pergerakan ni. Ni, flexion. Jadi, choose the plane wisely. Okay, and then the last movement is transverse lah. Benda yang kita boleh observe from above ataupun from below. Okay, so the reason is similar. Alright, and then we have another one. Okay, another way for us to explain about motion, which known as spatial reference system. And this spatial reference system use coordinate system known as Cartesian coordinate. Cartesian coordinate. Okay, Cartesian coordinate ni dia pakai graph involving x and y. Okay, first you need to know anything that move from here, from right hand side ni to the left, is negative. Anything that move from left to right is positive. Anything that move from top to bottom is negative. And anything that move from bottom up is positive. Okay. So kita buat lagi satu. Y and X. Okay. To read the coordinate, you are going to be given two figures. X figures, Y figures. Now, this will be 0. If let's say, I put a point here. Okay. Si X ni, saya letak Z kat sini. Okay. This Z, first saya nak kamu tahu. Bacaan X dia positif ke negatif? For X.
Positif.
Positif.
How about Y? In this region, how about Y?
Positif.
Positive. Okay. Let's say I put something here. Z1. Okay, now X. Positive ke negatif?
Negatif.
Negative X. How about Y?
Negatif juga.
Negatif juga. Okay. How about Z2 X?
Negatif.
Negative. Y?
Positif.
Positive.
Positif.
So automatically kalau Z3 ni X dia negatif positif?
Positif.
Positif. Y dia?
Negatif.
Negatif. Okay. So Cartesian coordinate function dia macam ni. Let's say kita ambil, okay, ni phase 1. Yang ini phase 2. Okay, this is the column of hips, and then we have leg, feet. We try to have a kicking action. So afterwards, after kick, become something like this. Okay. Kita Cartesian coordinate, we go by coordinate. So meaning that we need to have one point. Okay. So let's say we try to analyze the point of angle here. Okay, this is 0. So 1, 2, 3 and then 1. Jadi berapa koordinat dia? X ialah
1,
1, Y
-3.
-3. Okay. And then after the movement, okay, become 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So X dia jadi berapa?
6,
6, Y dia negatif
4.
4. Ni cara dia. Means you are going to record movement one by one. So, how much movement occurs at the ankle? How much movement occurs at the ankle? Still going to be X and Y. So, what is the difference between the new X and the initial X? 5. How about Y? From -3 to -4. So how much movement occurs?
1.
1. Is it only 1? Jangan sakit
Negative
kepala.
1.
Jangan sakit kepala. Okay, this one is the second phase. This one is the first phase. So if we try to find the difference, it will be second phase minus first phase. So for X, it will be 6 minus 1 equals to 5. For Y, it will be -4 minus -3. Jadi dia jadi -4 plus 3. It become -1. Ni pergerakan dia. This is how we explain movement based on Cartesian coordinate. Tambah tolak simple weh. Come on. Tolak dengan tolak je tambah. Jangan sakit kepala fikir. Ni susah sangat fikir. Balik kamu punya mathematics, simple maths. Okay, mathematics modern ni. This is biomechanics. Okay, so we are going to imply some sort of knowledge from maths, some sort of knowledge from physics. So benda-benda ni simple. Okay, this is how we explain movement. Okay, let's take another example. Kita ambil lutut dia. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, dia jadi 4. Okay, kita ambil point lutut dia. 1. Okay, so for 1, point lutut dia will be 5, 1. For 2, okay, 1, 2, 2. For 2, the new point lutut will be 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 2. 4, 2. So what is the difference from point 1 ni to point 2 ni? What is the difference? So it will be 2 minus 1. 4 minus 5 for X. And for Y, it will be 2 minus 1. Equals to 1 equals to negative 5 pula. Negative 1. Jadi ni apa tadi? Ni ankle. And ni we have negative 1, 1. So we know from here, what can you explain from the answer? What can you explain? Kaki lutut dia bergerak negative 1, 1. Meaning that it moved back and upwards. How about ankle? It moved forward and downwards. It moved forward and downwards. This is how you explain movement based on Cartesian coordinate. Kalau kita based on anatomical reference plane, macam yang inilah dia punya explanation. But if we try to explain things in terms of Cartesian coordinate, we explain them in terms of coordinate, in terms of X and Y, and in terms of the difference between phases. Itu cara kita explain lah. Dua cara untuk kita explain pergerakan. So in Cartesian coordinate, anything that move in terms of negative, meaning Kalau X dia negatif, it move backwards. Kalau Y dia negatif, it move downwards. If the X is positive, means it move forward. If the Y negative, means it move upwards. Tu maksud dia untuk Cartesian coordinate. Okay, sampai sini dulu. Do you have any question?
No, sir.
Okay, do you need to take 5? Perlukan rehat sementara. We have time. Hello.
Belum lagi kot.
Belum lagi kot.
Boleh
Okay.
teruskan.
Okay, kita teruskan. Alright. So we move to the, if I'm not mistaken, this will be the end part. Sekejap saya tengok jauh ni. Okay, dekat lah perjalanan kita. We move to end part. It is regarding qualitative analysis. Okay, when we talk about qualitative analysis, it involves the description of nature. It does not involve numbers. Bukan Cartesian coordinate dah. But it involves something like this. Kita nak cerita benda ni. Is the horizontal adduction maximum? Dia jawapan dia maximum dengan not maximum. Macam tu je. If are the running action is good, the answer will be yes or no. Itu qualitative analysis. Okay. So qualitative analysis being conducted by visual observation. Jadi dia banyak dipengaruhi oleh benda ni. Plane. Which plane give you the most information? Tu qualitative. Okay. So qualitative analysis, this is the prerequisite knowledge. Before you go, you conduct any analysis, this is the thing that you need to have. One, purpose. Okay, purpose. Purpose apa? Okay, contoh. Kita ambil shooting. Kita ambil air, rifle, shooting. Okay, so from here, kita nak tahu purpose. Apa purpose analysis kita ni? Kita nak tengok tangan dia goyang ke? Or we try to see the flexion at the body, the lateral flexion of the body, or maybe we try to see force distribution. Meaning we try to compare left and right leg, because some people, let's say lah, I take my own sports, archery kan, they have problem with weight distribution. To quantify weight distribution for split lah, ataupun kita pakai kita pakai pressure platform. But with your naked eyes, you can actually infer, or you can actually make some conclusion that fella is not evenly stable. He does not control the weight management. He stand only on one leg. Macam mana kita nak tahu? Kita boleh tengok dekat kaki dia. We can actually see there are differences in term of body weight. Kita nampak dia leaning forward. Okay, contoh. Shooting pula dah. Okay, kita ambil yang nampak badan, nampak semua. Okay, we take this one first. Based on this fella standing up, what can you give, what can you infer? Tengok cara dia berdiri, lepas tu cuba bagi tahu saya apa yang kamu boleh infer in term of body weight management dia. Ni, makcik ni. Stable tak dia? Stable. Okay. How about this one? Stable tak dia? Stable. Tengok betul-betul. How about this one? Stable tak dia? Tak stable. Okay. Ni budak baju merah buah kuning dengan makcik ni tak sama ke?
Sama.
Let's take a bigger pictures. Sama sebenarnya. Okay. But why? The question is why? From here, you kata stable tadi, but from this view, mana budak? We lost the budak. Okay, kejap. Kita perlukan budak ni. We need the budak baju kuning. But from here, different point of view, you see that he is not stable. Ni belum tengok kaki. How about this one? Nampak tak? That is the importance of plane. From which plane you see or you observe. Okay, makcik tadi tu, ni tengok lagi satu. Is he stable? Nampak dia melengkung. Melengkung ke belakang. Stabil tak dia ni? How far can he go? How about him?
Not stable.
Different point of view, result, different conclusion. Saya cuba cari yang nampak kaki sebenarnya. We go front again. Saya cuba cari satu gambar where we can see the legs. Contoh macam makcik ni lah. Makcik ni one of it. If you take a good look closely, makcik ni punya beban badan dia semua turun dekat kaki kiri. Okay, because the midline has deviated to the left hand side. Kaki kanan dia ni, kaki kiri, kaki kanan. Kaki kiri dia ni, there is not much weight. Not much. Because the line had deviated here. Okay, because of the line being deviated here. The reason is simple. Maybe the bow is quite heavy. So when the bow is quite heavy, you're going to use most of your lower part of the body on the left hand side ni to shift the weight. You're going to use the weight to pull the bow. Means you already deviated the line. Towards the long run, kamu akan dapat sakit dekat bahagian ini. Okay, saya cuba cik gambar yang macam ni. Let's take this one. Can we see that? Yang ni lain sikit. If we compare that two, this is quite different. Okay. If we compare these two, ni mana gambar dia kedua dia tadi? Is it this one? If we compare, that is quite different. Not much, but there are differences dengan yang ini. Okay, let's take this one. Yang ni kita tak boleh nampak weight distribution dia pasal dia dah lepas. We need to see the one that's still in pulling action. Kenapa dia pergi sini? Oh, ni yang dah lepas tadi. Can we have... let's take this one. Okay. Compare mamat tadi, makcik tadi dengan mamat ni. Can you see can you see any differences in term of weight dia? Ke nampak sama je?
Nampak sama.
Nampak sama. Okay, it's okay. How about this one? How about this one? Can you see the differences in term of weight distribution? Ni lah, ni clear. Can you see the difference in term of weight distribution here?
Can.
This is what we call qualitative analysis. Okay, we can see. How can you say, so weight distribution dia kaki mana? Is it left or is it right? Left or right?
Right.
Right.
Right. Most of the weight is on the right leg. How about this one? Kita ambil dia ni. Jauh-jauh tak cantik ni. Kita tak nampak kaki dia. Ni kita infer je kaki kiri dia berat. Tadi ada satu. Macam ada satu. Dia. Okay, let's take this one. So now, is it left? Is it left or is it right?
Left.
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 Okay, left. How about this one? Masih lagi left. Okay, masih lagi left. And you can see kalau kata dia alih kaki kan, if this person lift up the leg, we can actually see dent on the left hand, on the left leg spot compared to the right leg. The dent is going to be different. And actually we try to have quite a balanced stance. Weight distribution balance up, but not all the case. Most of them is going to have problem towards weight distribution, which at the end of the day, going to have a problem towards the shooting itself. This is what we call qualitative analysis. Okay. So you know the purpose and you know the cost. So purpose skill tu shooting. This purpose is shooting. So what caused the performance error? Weight distribution. Ni qualitative analysis. Okay, how can knowledge being gained, experience in performing the skill, reading available literature or attending conference. And ni maksud yang ketiga ni, how you know that happened. As for me, I'm playing this sport, so I know what happens. Okay, I'm playing this sport and I'm doing coaching, so I have sound knowledge on archery. But for you, if you've been assigned towards a sport which is unfamiliar to you, you need to have some experience, some knowledge. You need to either experience performing the skill or you need to read about it. Meaning, before you conduct any qualitative or quantitative analysis, please have an idea on what you need to do. By having idea, and then only you able to determine what is the problem. Contohlah saya bagi satu kan, benda ni mungkin siapa yang tahu tu jangan jawab lah. Saya nak tanya orang yang tak tahu. Sekejap Okey, kita ambil dia ni. Comel. Apa masalah ni? What is the problem of these shooters? Can anybody give any answer? It's okay.
Badan dia bengkok.
Badan dia bengkok. Okay, one of it badan dia bengkok. Lagi? Ada archers tak dalam ni?
Tangan dia jauh dari badan.
Tangan dia sangat jauh daripada badan. One of it. Jauh. Okay. So the line is deviate lagi. Ada dua benda yang obvious. Sorry, tiga. Okay. Kamu dah jawab beberapa but that's not it. Lain. Kita ambil gambar penuh dia sikit lah. Is it penuh? Alah, kecil. We need to take a bigger picture. Lagi kecil. Apa ni? Lagi jauh saya pergi lagi kecil. Sekejap. Stress. Mana gambar dia? Okay. Tadi kita dah ada badan dia bengkok, tangan dia jauh. Lagi? What can you infer? One here. Elbow dia tak betul. Which elbow, Ahmad? The left elbow or the right elbow?
Dia kata the right elbow.
The right elbow. Okay, what do you mean by tak betul? Kita ada banyak contoh opinion. Kenapa kamu kata dia tak betul?
Dia tak tarik habis.
Dia tak tarik habis. Okay, kenapa dia tak tarik habis?
Tak cukup kuat.
Tak cukup kuat? Are you sure?
Nak buat photoshoot.
Tak adalah, bone ni dah habis pusing dah. Memang dah tak tarik lagi dah. Nampak tu? Tali tengah tu dah masuk dekat sini dah straight. Meaning that the system cannot be pulled anymore. This is the longest it can go. That is the reason why dia tak tarik habis. Tu satu masalah dia. Elbow is the second one. Yes, that is not correct. The correct one will be somewhere around here. It is advisable for the elbow to be higher than the shoulder. Okay, pasal bila dia rendah, the line of force kamu tarik ni, dia akan ke bawah. So it is harder for you to maintain this line rather than to maintain a straight line ataupun quite slope line. Itu yang kedua. Apa masalah dia yang ketiga? One more problem. Quite a common problem here. Tengok kat tangan kiri dia.
Tu Daniel ada message cara dia pegang bow salah.
Yes. Cara dia pegang bow salah. Okay, lagi? Satu lagi. Cara dia pegang bow salah, ada tanda soal. Alah tu. Ni full grip ni. Dia akan transfer all the vibration back to his hand. To her hand. And another one is, there are no locking. Okay, some of you maybe know, some of you does not know. This is the reason of knowledge. So before you do any analysis, you need to have an idea about the skill itself. Kalau tak, kamu akan jadi macam you are going to go like informal problem. You don't know where to start. So by knowing, you know the problem and you can come up with solution. Itulah qualitative analysis. Okay. So qualitative analysis, there are several phases. The first one is planning. What is the question to be answered? So by having knowledge, now kamu dah tahu dah dia salah kat mana? Bow dia pendek, tangan dia grip, and then siku dia jatuh. That is the question to be answered. From what perspective should the movement being viewed? If we view from here, okay, setelah kita view daripada sini, kita ambil gambar orang kedua ni. We view from here, the same one, the sagittal plane, compared to we view from somewhere around here. Ini pun kita boleh nampak tu biasa. Kalau dia betul-betul daripada belakang, we cannot actually determine the line of arrow because it is at one straight line. Tu maksud yang kedua. Which perspective? You take a good perspective, you are going to gain a lot of information. But if the perspective is not that good, lacking of information. Okay, and then how many observation should be taken? Okay, ni soalan ni susah kita nak jawab. Berapa banyak kali nak tengok? Sekali, dua kali, tiga kali, sekali for sure is not the answer. Because we need to have some sort of reference and then we need to have mean of action. Kita kena tahu dia punya pergerakan tu memang selalu begitu ataupun it just once in a while. If the pergerakan is always like that, meaning there are problems towards the skill itself, towards the kinematic. If the problem occurs once or twice upon the whole trial, meaning the problem is not kinematic, something else. To masuk observation. So the answer for observation is you need ample observation. Okay, ample observation. Sometimes 2 or 3 trial is enough. Sometimes it's not. Simply because every single trial you see flaws. Jadi kita tak boleh nak ada perbandingan. Tu planning phase. Okay, and then what plan should be made for? Before you do any qualitative analysis, take consideration first attire. Okay, kalau kita tengok dekat sini, there are several attire. Ni mungkin winter kot, dia main masa winter. Yang ini quite a normal competition. Okay, this is a quite normal competition. This is quite normal competition. I've met once with an archers. This fella come to the field wearing jubah. Okay, dia pakai jubah, perempuan kan, dia pakai jubah yang macam pergi jalan tu. So if they try to shoot, there are not much observation can be done. Tu maksud dia. Okay, so attire. If on that day you try to determine the problem towards the shoulder, towards the shooting arm, make sure those parts can be seen clearly without obstruction. Yang kedua, lighting condition. Do your analysis in a lit area. So jangan panas lah kita duduk bawah pokok, bawah kemah, letak kamera gelap. Jangan. And then the background. Okay, background macam mana, nak ada orang tak ada orang. So sometimes it is better for you to conduct the analysis where it is clear rather than in a hectic background. And finally, use of video. Are you going to use video recording? If you ask me, I'm going to say yes, please do so. Because if you do qualitative analysis, you try to determine the quality of the action by your own naked eyes, and it cannot be replicated. Towards 20 or 30 observation, you are going to mix up. Orang ni dapat analisis orang tu dapat analisis orang lain. Dah tak dapat nak selesai masalah. So better use video. And when you use video, okay, when you use video, ni beberapa soalan ni lah. When you use video ni apa? Viewing angle, viewing distance. These two things need to be appropriate. How appropriate? Based on movement. Nak tengok archer shooting, letak kamera dekat belakang, satu je. There is not much. Go for side view. Contoh macam tu. The angle need to be correct. If possible, the angle and the distance ni kan, this is if possible, because some field does not make it possible. If you have player here, try to conduct anything. So your angle kan should be in the middle. Camera angle tu. You should have the whole movement in your frame. So how far it goes, it depends towards the lens. If you have a good focal lens, and then maybe the distance is not going to be far. But if your lens is quite a zoom lens, you need to be far. Kita nak dapatkan semua daripada kepala sampai kaki. But if your focus is only towards pinggang ke atas, you can actually ambil bahagian tu. Meaning, the camera distance is going to be near. When that happen, you are going to get much clear outcome. Okay, janganlah ambil pada tepi ke, ambil tegak terus dengan dia. Kita nak ambil sagittal, okay, ambil tegak terus dengan dia. If you go skewed, you still have the information. But, if you go for analysis, if you go for quantitative later, ukuran dia akan skewed. That is how you choose angle dengan distance. Okay, performance attire. Inilah what is the question. Based on the question, you make decision. What decision? Angle, distance, video. Okay, environmental modification. Okay, kita tak nak semua orang lalu dekat belakang. We need it to be clear. We don't want any banner at the back of this athlete, so that we can have athletes tu sahaja. Performer attire. Okay, after that, collect observation, record. Okay, record visual, sounds. Okay, after collect, you interpret. Interpret of what? Interpret macam tadi lah. Macam mana dia punya siku, macam mana dia punya lengan, macam mana dia punya badan, how about weight distribution. You make interpretation. And after interpretation, you communicate with the performer. Okay, si Polan, this is the outcome of your analysis. Lutut kamu macam ni, kepala kamu singit ke belakang, ni gigi simpan, tangan. Okay, after you have communicate, or after you have you give feedback towards the performer, you have two more questions. Is it soft? If soft, and then you end that analysis. If that is not soft, you're going to refine. Oh, the problem is not towards the left hand. We need to see the right hand, and repeat again the cycle. So this is how we conduct qualitative analysis. Qualitative. Kalau quantitative, dah susah. Measure dia terus, berapa angle. Okay, we just go for measurement. That is the difference between qualitative and quantitative. So that's all for today class. So do you have any question?
Saya nak tanya.
Ya, silakan.
Yang dalam archery kan, kenapa bow tu kadang ada orang pakai yang palang kat depan tu?
Palang kat depan? Natang ni?
Ah.
Tapi ni natang ni satu je kan? Okay, jap. Saya tunjuk palang. Yang itu recurve. Palang. Tanya nak cari palang tak ada. Dia mesti ada kat sini. Ni. Ni video. Sekejap Tu, palang-palang tu. Okay, palang-palang ni nama dia stabilizer. Okay, what can you define by stabilizer?
Dia stabilkan benda lah.
Dia stabilkan benda. Okay, tapi yang dia stabilkan tu is actually the aiming tau. Bow kita ni, kalau kita angkat kan, dia akan, bila kita nak aim tu, dia akan ada benda macam ni tau. This is what we call as locus of aiming. Dia bukan stabilkan bow punya vibration or whatsoever, but with a good stabilizer, our locus of aiming is going to be small. Okay, kalau tak dia besar pula, okay, kita tambah berat dia akan jadi makin kecil. Dia takkan stop. Bila kita aim, dia tak stop macam tu. Dia akan ada sikit either horizontal ataupun vertical. Ada orang dia prone to horizontal, pergi kiri kanan. Ada orang dia prone to atas bawah. Ada orang dia baik sikit, it goes locus, bulat. Okay, kadang-kadang bulat dia besar. Kadang-kadang bulat dia kecil. So that stabilizer ensure that this locus is minimal. So dia ada dua type lah. Satu, the thing that you see here, ada satu panjang, lepas tu pendek kiri kanan. Okay, however, if you go to another division of shooting, okay, ni compound. Ni pun dia pakai kiri kanan. Kita cari yang lain. Okay, this one. Tengok yang ni dulu. Pun lebih kurang. dia towards the latest, dia dah ada sedikit perubahan in term of arrangement, in term of compound. Okay, macam ni. So they have one front and then they have one sidebar. Kalau macam recurve tadi kamu perasan dia di kiri kanan kan? Lepas tu dia bersambung dengan yang ni. Macam compound dia kurang. Dia selalunya pakai one sidebar, one front. Simply because some of them use quite heavy aiming device, which resulting dia kena counter dengan sebelah. Either way, if they goes with one bar, they goes with two bar, macam ni kan. Ni dia pakai satu bar, yang panjang kat sini. Kalau recurve tadi dia bersambung. Satu bar sebelah kiri, satu bar panjang, or they go something like this. Okay, satu bar kiri, ni dia pakai lepeh. Okay, ada orang
So
pula
cara pasang ni ikut preference orang lah.
ya, ada orang pakai contour. Ya, ni untuk hunting. That is preference, one of it. Setting, secondly. And the third one, it serves the same purpose, which is to stabilize. Meaning, but by having a good combo, you can have not static but nearly to static condition. Nearly to static. Jadi dia kurang lah effort dia untuk nak control tangan kiri dia. Since dia masuk-masuk je dia dah stable. Tu function benda ni. Okay, so some use a longer one. Hunting dia pakai pendek, kalau tak dia sangkut pokok. Masuk kat pokok kan tersangkut. Dia ni mabuk. Dia ni mabuk, jangan ikut. Okay, ni contoh macam ni nampak dia pakai panjang tepi dia. Jauh tepi. Ada orang pakai tepi pendek Ini ada pendek. Ni depan belakang pendek. Okay, ada orang pakai depan dia panjang, tepi dia pendek. So that is, one of it is preference. Secondly, is actually depends on the event lah. Kalau kata event hunting macam ni, memang kami tak pakai bow yang panjang dan stabilizer panjang. Sangkut semua ni. Okay, this is field archery. So bila field archery ni dia akan berjalan, dia bukan main dekat atas padang, and you're going to see difference in term of body position, because there are several other regulation that need to they need to adopt. Dia tak boleh, dia kena berdiri dekat kayu lah apalah. So jangan tengok macam ni. Okay, selalu kalau kita buat contoh macam ni kan, empat kaki dia rapat Kalau kita main archery yang field archery, WE competition archery, usually dia akan ada stance yang lain. Stance macam ni. Nampak ni dia punya panjang. Kalau main recurve, dia macam ni. Ni compound lah ni. Ni recurve So rupa dia pun dah lain dah. Dia pasang pun dekat tempat yang lain. Again, the purpose is similar, which is actually to have to stabilize the movement of the bow. Ni angle lain. Nampak? Angle dia ke bawah. Dia ada diagonal angle. Kalau yang first tadi, dia straight angle. Tu preference athlete tu. Okay. Any other question?
Okay sir, tak ada.
Alright. So if you don't have any question, that will serve as the end of our class.